The revenue in millions of dollars from the sale of X units at a home supply outlet is given by R of X equals 0.21X. The profit in millions of dollars from the sale of X units is given by P of X equals 0.084X minus 0.6. Find the cost equation. What is the break-even point? First thing we need to remember is that when dealing with cost, revenue, and profit functions, there is a relationship. The profit function will be P of X. The cost function will be C of X. And the revenue function will be R of X. The relationship between these is the fact that the profit function will be equal to the revenue function minus the cost function. But I'm looking for the cost function in this particular problem as indicated right here. Find the cost equation or cost function. So since P of X equals R of X minus C of X is not what I'm looking for, I'm going to rearrange this. So we'll take our function, which is P of X equals R of X minus C of X, and we're going to solve this now for C of X. In order to do that, we will go ahead and subtract R of X from both sides. And this is just like solving any equation. I'm now going to have P of X minus R of X is equal to a negative C of X. Well, it can't be a negative value, so I will go ahead and multiply through by a -1, and that will affect each one of the terms in my function. And that means that I will now have C of X is equal to R of X minus P of X. Since I already know what R of X is, and R of X is this function right here, that's equal to 0.21x, I will replace the R of X with this. And then I also know what P of X is. It is this function right here. P of X equals 0.084x minus 0.6. So I'll put that in parentheses here because I am subtracting that, and I want to make sure that my subtraction sign will affect every term that's in the profit function. So we will apply this negative sign to both terms here, and in doing so we can rewrite this as 0.21x minus 0.084x, and this will be a negative here, so that's going to be plus 0.6. And now I need to simplify this by combining the two x terms, and that will yield 0.126x. Don't forget I still have the plus 0.6 here, and so now my cost function is equal to this, and this is what you would input into the answer field. So the next part is going to be the break-even point occurs when about how many units are sold. Well, the break-even point occurs when the cost function and the revenue function are equal. So we need to make sure that we understand that. So this break-even point right here is going to occur when the cost function, C of X, is equal to the revenue function, R of X. So in order to solve this one, I'll go ahead and set the two functions equal to each other. We know that the cost function is given by the following, and we just determined that. C of X is equal to 0.126x plus 0.6. And then we're going to need the revenue function. And we know that the revenue function is given by 0.21x. And if you didn't remember that, we could simply scroll back up and look at where the revenue function is written. So we take these two functions and set them equal to each other. We will have C of X is equal to r of x. And just simply substitute in what the function is for c of x, and that will be 0.126x plus 0.6, and that will be equal to the revenue function, which will be 0.21x. Now we solve for x. In doing so, I will simply subtract 0.21x from both sides. And when I do that, we end up with a negative 0.084x. Don't forget that I still have the plus 0.6 here, and that will be equal to 0. So let's go ahead and subtract 0.6, and remember that this should be a negative 0.084. So we'll subtract 0.6 from both sides, and we have this new equation, which is negative 0.084x is equal to negative 0.6. But remembering that we want to solve for x, and we do so by simply dividing through by the coefficient of x of negative 0.084x on both sides of the equation. That's to divide through by x, and I meant just the 0.084 because obviously we don't want to divide through by x. We want the x to remain on the left hand side of the equation. And when dividing this out, we end up with x is equal to a positive 7.142857, and that is a repeating decimal. All 6 of those numbers to the right of the decimal point will repeat. Now, what is our actual answer going to be? Well, if we look back up here at the original statement, the break-even point occurs when about blank units are sold. What I'm concerned with is this statement right here, round to the nearest thousandth as needed, which means that we will be rounding at 2 in this particular number. So when we round, we find that x will be equal to 7.143, and that would be our answer that we would input into the answer field.